Else like to speak? With that, we'll vote on the proclamation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Heidi. Okay. 7A, Department of Transportation Director's Report. We have the written report. I don't see Howard here. One thing I'd like to comment on, we had quite a discussion here a month or so ago about the Prop B dollars and where it was going to go. If you notice, by making that decision and getting out there, we just barely made the deadline by a few days. So if we'd have procrastinated and let that go on, we might have, the way things are looking, we might have lost the period. But so we, by swift action of this board, we've accumulated over $400,000 for projects in this county. If, like I say, if we would have delayed it even maybe one more meeting, we might have lost it. So sometimes there's a time to make a decision. So any other comments to the director's report, Department of Transportation? Okay, we'll accept the director's report. Item 7C, the discussion and possible action regarding the request for policy direction to the Sheriff and Chief Executive Office regarding pre-booking medical charges. Sponsor is the Sheriff and the CEO's office. Do we have a representative here from the office? Norm, did you want to start this off? Norm Thurston, the financial guru from the Sheriff's Department.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Sheriff's Office has been paying for many years for pre-booking medical clearances for people who have been placed under arrest and are on their way to jail. Different counties interpreted the law in different ways. We were one of the counties that the interpretation was that we were responsible for those bills. Other counties interpreted it that they were not responsible. Last year, a Superior Court ruling ruled that counties were not responsible to pay those bills, which put us in the predicament of having to make a decision as to whether or not we're going to continue to pay the hospitals and doctors locally for those services. Being the tough decision that it was, and an important decision as well, that went well beyond the Sheriff's Office, we thought it was appropriate to bring it forward to this board for direction.
Tom?
Yes, Tom Mitchell, Chief Executive Officer. We started this project several months back based on the advice of County Council with the recent Supreme Court ruling relating to the county's ability to pay. We did have one or two meetings with hospital providers. The primary focus we've talked about is pre-jail medical bookings for the Sheriff's Department, but there are also some costs connected with our juvenile side, and their budget also incurs some of these costs. There is no easy solution to the problem. All of those clients that go to the hospital before they're booked into the jail that need medical attention, I believe the hospitals first attempt to get recovery from private insurance parties and then any other sources they can before they turn to the county. The county is a last resort, but even being a last resort, it does cost us significant amounts of money to fund this program. Norm, what did we have budgeted the last year?
Well, I can give you some historical figures,
sure,
some actuals. In 2007, we had 93 bills that we paid just under $65,000 on. Oh, I'm sorry. The total bills were just under $65,000. We paid $27,000 on those. I'm sorry. Let me back up. These are an analysis of the months of July through September. So this is for 3 months. So if you extrapolate that out into a full year, we paid $27,000. So for the year, we paid maybe $110,000 in 2007. In 2008, for that same 3-month period, we had bills totaling about $96,000, which we paid approximately $41,000 on. So for the year, you could extrapolate about 120,000. So over 100,000 a year on pre-booking medical clearances. The costs have been jumping up. The amount that we get billed from the hospitals has been jumping up considerably. We were, based on the first quarter of this fiscal year, we're anticipating a payout as much as 166,000 because of the increase in billings.
Thank you, Norm. Supervisor McGowan?
And I believe this would impact the hospitals in Ukiah, Fort Bragg, and Willits.
That's correct.
And you've given us an estimate of what you expect the annual amount to be, and currently bills are being held pending a decision by the board. Do you have an estimate of the amount for outstanding bills currently?
I do. We had paid bills. I was looking for a cutoff point, and so I just selected the end of the last fiscal year, June 30th, as a cutoff point, and we paid everything up through June 30th before we cut it off and said we're going to wait and get some guidance. So everything that we've received since then, and of course there's still, bills that were incurred, costs that were incurred in December have not all come in yet. So we have probably between, I would say, 5 to 5.5 months worth of bills that total up about $172,000. If you use the 43% as the factor of average payment, that would equate to about $74,000 due at this time.
And then I understand you have had meetings, or there have been meetings with representatives from the hospitals, and was this just delivering the bad news, or was there an effort to how can we work this out, or please give us some information there.
Yeah, there was an exchange there. Our feeling was we didn't want to jump into it. We didn't want to rush to a judgment. We wanted to put the hospitals on notice what was going on so that they would be aware. During the meetings we had, they were certainly open to discussing different possibilities. Right now we have old contracts dating back to the 80s, I think, where Ukiah Valley Medical Center, Howard Memorial Hospital, and the Mendocino Coast District Hospital each receive 35% of actual charges as payment. So nothing was decided, nothing was, no formal action was taken with the meetings. It was informative in nature.
One more question, if I may, and then for the most part, we're taking these individuals to the hospital because at the time they were arrested, there's some indication that there might be medical issues there. And I would assume that in the vast majority of these cases, it's going to be a pre-existing medical condition that whatever it is that they had it before our personnel came into contact with them. Is that accurate?
I think that's probably a mixed bag. I think that's sometimes that's true, but I would hazard to guess that an equal amount of the time it's something that occurred incident to their arrest. A good example is a drunk driver who rolls their car or crashes into a tree. If they're not hurt so severely that they can't go to jail, they're obviously going to get a pre-booking medical clearance. But
in the case of the drunk driver, they incurred the injury prior to us being involved. So it's just I'm suggesting it's a small percentage that it's an action that we may have taken. For instance, if someone's resisting arrest or something, they may have become injured during the process. But generally, they already have the medical condition when we come in contact with them.
Yeah, it's generally not something that was caused by law enforcement.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I got a question along that same line. As far as medication, say if I was arrested right now and I had my diabetes medication that I had to take, that's like a pre-existing condition, but because you're in jail, you don't have the ability to go get a prescription for an ongoing problem. What is the obligation of the county